any UAS accident involved that would result in a serious injury would be considered an accident, no matter what the size of the drone. If there's not an injury involved, but there's substantial damage, it's for drones that are 300 pounds or greater.
Probably maybe have further questions later. President Perrone, there's an ongoing debate on whether the FAA is adequately including aviation safety inspectors in the certification process, particularly those overseeing ODA. How does safety inspector staffing challenges impact your members currently, and then the traveling public as well?
So the problem that we have, past believes that the FAA doesn't have enough inspectors. They don't have the staffing and also training to keep up with it. The ODA program is expanding, like I said, more than the FAA can handle it. And we just want the FAA to be able to understand they need to have the oversight available. We understand industry has the expertise. They're going to do what they need to do, but bottom line for FAA, the regulatory side of the house, they have to have enough inspectors with the knowledge to understand what's going on, and if they're going to sign off on the ODA program, they have to be there. The FAA's position right now is they're data collectors. So our inspectors used to go out, kick the tires, visit the aircraft industry, and see and have a rapport with the industry as well as the folks working on the equipment. They've changed that philosophy. They have and rely on industry giving data to the FAA, and our inspectors just look at that data and then sign off. That's not, again, a good position to be in. And with the government shutdown during that time frame, industry kept rolling, and our inspectors were sitting at home because they were furloughed. So all that backlog work, plus their normal work once they came back, was a rush to get everything done. Things could fall through the cracks.
So given staffing issues and training issues and combining that with these emerging technologies in the airspace, are you changing how you train incoming inspectors to address issues like drones or this commercial space transportation issues, or how is training changing?
So we're trying to get the FAA to work on the training issues as well. One of the things that we tried also, we twice put in for the Drone Advisory Committee, and the DOT did not put pass on there. Again, our folks represent the inspectors who are going to end up ultimately overseeing the regulation. We've asked the FAA why we were not included. They said DOT made the decision, so we've asked, can we get a response? So we agree training needs to be modified and changed, and since it's a permissible subject, the agency can or not include us.
Okay. Thank you. Turn to Ranking Member Graves for 5 minutes.
Great, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it, and I want to thank all of you for your testimony today. Captain Pete, earlier today there were calls for more proactive early warning system type program to be put together to identify any safety concerns associated with aircraft. Could you explain right now, I think pilots are stakeholders in this as well, can you explain right now what type of system is provided for that allows for that type of reporting to bubble up?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the question, Ranking Member Graves. You know, back in 1997-98 time period, when after a series of major accidents occurred and the commercial air safety team was formed, a very aggressive data collection effort became underway, where measurements of over 150 streams of data come in. With the ASAP program, the Aviation Safety Action Programs are inclusive, and the FOCA program, the Flight Ops Quality Assurance, was also included in that. And then very soon after, we saw 4 accidents occur, culminating with Colgan. And that led to taking a look at completing the circle and looking at the way pilots were trained. We instituted, thanks to the work of this committee, flight time and duty time regulations, although cargo was carved out ultimately, as you know. Not always looking for one level of safety. But that led to the safest period in aviation history in America, where I can say that we've moved close to 3/4 of the world's population in metal composite tubes in the lowest stratosphere without a single pilot-caused fatality, with exception of the one Southwest aircraft that had the fan blade. And so it is my belief here that the absence of accidents is a wonderful thing, but it's all the more important that we remain diligent and committed to safety to look more and more into how we can better report. We've got a strong, resilient system right now, a very robust system. It's working. Although, obviously, we're here today and we heard from some of the families behind me, something happened that wasn't supposed to happen. Many years ago, like I said, we had a forensic approach where the tombstone mentality that you mentioned, Chairman DeFazio, and now we have a risk predictive model. So it's very important, like I said in my testimony, that we examine closely the certification, the oversight, and the designation authority and find out how we can make this better.
Thank you. Mr. Perone, in your testimony, you discuss federal regulations for the type of certification process. And so right now, who is it that establishes the certification basis for the safety standard, including safety standards that have to be met in order for an aircraft to proceed?
So the regulation is done by the FAA, and then the industry has to follow that, whatever they come up with for regulation.
And then who establishes the certification plan and the means of compliance and the level of FAA involvement in the verification process?
So again, I think the industry, Boeing or whoever, comes up with a plan on how to do it, and the FAA oversees that procedure.
So wait a minute. You're saying that the that Boeing or the manufacturer would actually come up with the certification plan, including the means of compliance and the level of FAA involvement?
They come up with, again, their engineering, they do all the studies, they do what they need to do, then the FAA makes sure that complies with the regulation, complies with the system, and then they have, once they do it, and once they build the aircraft or whatever the particular certification piece is, that they're following that compliance.
So you're saying that the companies actually established a certification plan?
They're the ones that, correct, they're the ones that know the best way to come up with that engineering design, and then the FAA oversees it.
I